Guys, what's going on? I hope you guys are having a wonderful day. Welcome. It's so good to see everybody here. I hope you guys are doing well. My name is Dr. Boyce Watkins, and today I'm going to give you a quick briefer on three types of business advice you should never take. You should never take business advice from these types of people. So get comfortable, buckle up a seatbelt. We're going to get started on the Black Financial Channel right now. Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome to the Black Financial Channel. That's theblackfinancialchannel.com. My name is Dr. Boyce Watkins. I'm your friendly neighborhood finance professor. On the Black Financial Channel, we talk about Black wealth and Black economics every single day, sometimes as much as 5 or 10 times a day under one condition. The condition is that we are Black first and we're not ashamed. We're not going to apologize for that because we want to build our community. We have a job to do, and that is not just closing the racial wealth gap, but it's actually creating a new gap where we're actually in the lead and not behind. If you believe that that vision is possible, put a B1 in the chat. If you agree with me that our kids can be the most economically intelligent group of people on the planet, put a yes in the chat. Give me a yes if you believe that we can be great again. Put a yes in the chat. I believe that we can. I know that we can. And my PhD is in finance. And so I can give you guys the latest, most cutting edge techniques in finances and making money and holding money and keeping money and growing your money that are out there. So give me a yes in the chat if you follow, if this makes sense to you, if you are on board with this mission. We're not here just to talk. We are here because we have a job to do. So anyway, I hope everybody's doing well. I want to say happy holidays to you. If you're watching this during the holidays, you may be watching a recording, and that's fine. You can watch this video 5 years from now and get benefit from it because it just came to mind. I was thinking about some stuff that I'm always thinking about things I can share that might be helpful to you. And one of the things I was thinking about, and this is as a result of some advice I was giving a young person about their business. So this person, give me a yes or no if you've ever seen situations like this. This person was a young entrepreneur, and they had a family where almost nobody else ever started a business. Give me a yes in the chat if you've ever been in that situation where you were trying to do something different from everybody else and no one else really understood what you were doing, but everybody got something to say. Give me a yes in the chat if you understand what I'm talking about. Because this is important. This is still important to understand because this links to culture. In fact, I just wrote a whole book called The 10 Commandments of Black Economic Power. It's available on Amazon if you ever want to get a copy. And this whole book was about sort of dealing with the cultural dimensions of why Black wealth is so hard to build, why it's so hard for you to have your millionaires and your billionaires. A lot of it is because you have bad economic soil in your family. Bad economic soil means that you don't have the conditions to create entrepreneurship. You don't have the conditions to create millionaires and billionaires. Even a lot of HBCUs have bad economic soil because they train their students to go work for white folks instead of training their students to go build businesses that can employ Black folks. And I'm not dissing them. I'm not saying that they're doing everything wrong. They're doing a lot of things great. HBCUs produce more Black doctors and lawyers than anywhere else. They send lots of talented Black people to go work for big corporations. But what's really happening in terms of building those billion-dollar companies that our community needs so that the next group of college graduates can go work for a Black employer if they choose to do so. So give me a yes if you get what I'm talking about here. So this is important. And part of the reason you don't have this, and I've studied this stuff in extreme detail. This is my whole doctoral experience was built around studying wealth and where wealth comes from. And one of the things I can tell you is that a lot of the wealth that you don't have in your community is the result of the fact that your culture and your psychology is not consistent with the building of wealth. Now, we know the history. Don't get me wrong. There's a history. There's a history of where we deserve reparations because for hundreds of years, white folks stole a lot of our money. And that's something that happened. That's something I can't change. We should fight for reparations. We deserve that. So let's just lay that out there clearly. I'm not blaming a victim on this. But what I am saying is that the reasons that you don't have wealth at birth are very different from the reasons that you don't grow your wealth during life. Do you understand what I'm saying? That the reason you didn't have wealth at birth is very different from the reasons that your wealth doesn't grow throughout the course of your life. If I start off and I got $5,000 to my name and I'm 20 years old, what's the difference between the 20-year-old who starts with 5,000 and ends up broke versus the 20-year-old who starts with 5,000 and ends up a millionaire? Or the other 20-year-old who starts with 5,000 and just works himself into an early grave with no assets to show for it. That's mindset. That's culture. That's the environment around you. So let me just kind of break this down for you. Do me a favor, hit the thumbs up button, thumbs up, share, subscribe. Also, what's up on TikTok? I want to say thank you to you guys for tuning in. I'm going live on TikTok. I don't go live on TikTok that often, but there are fake TikTok accounts, fake Boyce Watkins accounts out there. I guess when you have enough reach, we have about 1 billion views on, excuse me, different YouTube channels. So there are a lot of fake accounts that come up out of that. And so be really careful. I don't want you to get scammed. So just be really cautious about, if I send you a personal message and say, hey, let me talk to you directly or something. That's not me. I promise you that's a scammer. So be careful with that. I don't want you to get taken. All right. So here's what I want to lay out for you. I want to give you 3 types of business advice you should not take if you're trying to be an entrepreneur. How many of you are entrepreneurs? How many of you either are starting businesses, or how many of you are entrepreneurs? You want to start a business, you want to own, some assets, you want to own some property, you want to be a wealth builder. Give me a yes in the chat. All the aspiring entrepreneurs in the building, give me a yes in the chat. This is advice for you. So 3 types of advice you should not take from your relatives are number 1. I would argue that you should not take advice from people who don't have any money. That's the first thing. If a person has never made money, then they probably can't tell you how to go make money, because if they knew how to make money, they'd have money for themselves. And so just by looking at a person's financial situation, that right there tells you not just how skilled they are at earning money, but it also explains, what their mindset is in terms of making the sacrifices necessary to actually get money and keep money. It doesn't mean that they're stupid. It doesn't mean that they're bad. It doesn't mean that they're a terrible person. It just means that if you're starting a business and you're trying to go out here and build something that's going to be worth over $1 million, what can a person who hasn't made any money really offer you in terms of figuring out how to make more money? Because if they knew what they were doing, they would have done it for their own lives, but they haven't done that yet. The best people to learn from are the people who've actually done it. So just be really careful. In some cases, there are a few exceptions, but most of the time that's not true. But this is pretty obvious. This is pretty, I think this is pretty straightforward advice. But taking financial advice from broke people it's just like on the internet. You have a lot of people taking relationship advice from people who are in bad relationships or in no relationship at all. Well, then you should probably look. And if you notice that their relationships are broken and then your relationships are broken, that's the way it's supposed to work. You're getting broken advice from a broken person. So of course your relationships are going to fall apart. If I want to get relationship advice on how to deal with my wife or how to solve a problem, I'm going to go talk to the OGs. I'm going to talk to the people that have been married 40, 50 years. I'm going to talk to my daddy who's been next to my mama for 48 years. I want to learn from people like that. I don't want to learn from somebody who's on their 3rd or 4th boyfriend in the last year, or somebody who's had 4 husbands. That doesn't necessarily give me the advice that I need in order to make the sacrifices necessary to keep my relationship strong. Okay. The second type of person you should not get business advice from is somebody who's never run a business. Entrepreneurship is different. Running a business is different. There's a different mindset you have to have when you are the employee versus when you're the boss. That's just a reality. The boss and the employee can't think the same. The employee has a job to do, and the employee gets a consistent paycheck. The boss has to tell others what to do, and the boss has to take a lot more risk. The boss has to deal with the ups and downs of the business. The boss has to understand the personalities of the people that work for him or her. The boss has to figure out how to put teams together and how to coordinate strategies. The boss is living in a different world from somebody who's always been an employee. So if somebody's never run a business, they're just not going to usually have the information that you need, number 1. And number 2, they'll probably give you a lot of advice that will end up being bad because they've never gone through what you're going through right now. And that's just true in general. When I was trying to get my PhD and nobody else in my family had a doctorate, I didn't have anybody I could turn to and say, well, how do I deal with my dissertation chair? Because he's really being an asshole right now, and I don't know what to do to get my thesis through. I didn't have anybody that could tell me how to do that. Seriously, I didn't. I had to figure it out. I had to go find some scholars who had gone through it, who could tell me what to do. I could not ask my parents. I could not ask cousins. I couldn't ask other people. They thought I was the weirdo who was in school for too long, right? That's what a lot of people in my family thought. That's just the truth. But I had a different vision. I stuck with it. I got the right advice, and I made it through. The third type of person you should not get business advice from is a person who doesn't take any risk. Do you understand? Give me a yes in the chat if you understand that business and investing involves risk. Give me a yes. I want you to say yes if you understand that it involves risk. What does risk mean? Does risk mean, pay attention now, does risk mean that every time you do something, it's going to work? Does risk mean that that every shot you take is going to go into the basket? Does risk mean that that every time something goes wrong, you need somebody in your face telling you, "I told you so," every time? That is a pain in the ass. And a person who doesn't understand risk is going to do just that. See, you got to understand. Let's talk about this for a minute. One of the things I studied in extreme detail in my when I was working on my doctorate was risk management and understanding risk. And let me tell you a couple of things about risk. Number one, risk, it has an upside and a downside. Risk has an upside and a downside, and there are some people who see the upside. They're the optimists. They're the ones who say, "Man, if I make this investment, I can do really well." And then there are some people who only see the downside. And those are the people who are the pessimists. Those are the ones who say, "Oh, if you quit that job, you ain't gonna be able to pay your rent, and you ain't gonna be able to get it back on at the post office, and how you gonna feed them babies," right? We got people like that. And let me just tell you a secret: both of those people are wrong. The person who's the eternal optimist who only sees the upside, they're wrong. And the person who is the eternal pessimist who only sees the downside, they're wrong too. Because risk has both the upside and the downside. Like they say, you should hope for the best and prepare for the worst. So that is hedging risk. That is protecting yourself. That's why you buy things like insurance, because you're saying, look, I don't expect my house to burn down, but I'm going to get insurance just in case it does. See, a lot of people don't even understand that basic idea. They talk about prenups, for example. When I mentioned publicly, when my wife and I got married, somebody said, "Well, did you all sign a prenup?" I said, "Yeah, we did." And they would say, "Well, why would you sign a prenup? That means that you think you're going to get a divorce." It's like, no, that's insurance. That's just in case. That's acknowledging the downside. That's acknowledging that there are millions of divorces that happen every year. And if we get a divorce, we don't want it to be messy. So ultimately, risk means you can see the upside and the downside. And the problem with talking to somebody who doesn't take risk, who lives a safe life, who makes all their decisions based on fear. Give me a yes in the chat if you know people who think that way, who literally make all their decisions based on fear. They don't want to step out there. They don't want to take any chances. They don't want anything to go wrong. People who make their decisions based on fear can almost never be good entrepreneurs. In fact, they can almost never be good at anything that requires you to be able to fight through the storm. They can't fight through the storm because every time it starts raining, they start acting like Chicken Little. "Oh Lord, Jesus, the sky's falling. The world's coming to an end. I knew this was going to happen. I knew it's going to go bad. I knew it." Now I get it. That's fine. These are people that tend to be heavily traumatized, easily triggered. They get in relationships and they start running because they're scared. The first time they see a red flag, they're like, "Oh, I got to go. I got to go." Oh, first time something goes wrong, somebody shows up late for a date. It's like, "Oh, I got to go. I got to go." Right? You got people like that. And unfortunately, to be realistic, they probably need therapy. Number one, they probably need to, because they had trauma. They had something that happened in their life that went bad. So because of that, they feel like everything could go bad and they're scared constantly. All their decisions are based on fear. And then the truth is that these people will almost never become entrepreneurs. Because let me tell you all a little secret about being a business owner. I've been a business owner for a long time now. Shit will go wrong all the time. You will always have stuff that does not work out the way you want it to. You will make a million bad investments throughout the course of your life. You will. You're going to have bad days. You're going to have stressors. You're going to have things that you thought were going to be perfect and did not go well. That is the life. That is the game. That's like being a boxer. Muhammad Ali said, "I'm the greatest," but he didn't say, "I ain't never going to get knocked out." He just said, "After I get knocked out, I'm going to get back up and I'm going to keep on fighting." That's what an entrepreneur has to be able to do. And here's the reason why you shouldn't take advice from people who don't take risk. Why? Well, because every time something goes wrong, every time you get knocked out, every time life punches you in the jaw and you go to the ground, they're going to be the first one standing over you saying, "I told you so. I told you so. I told you not to do that. I told you that was going to end up bad. I told you it wasn't going to work." And you don't need to hear that. You don't need to hear people like that. You need to hear people in your life that are going to tell you positive things, that are going to say, "Okay, it went bad, but you're committed to the dream. Okay, yeah, things went left, but let's focus on the bigger vision. Yeah, things didn't quite work out this time, but there's always next time." You want people that can see the long game, who can tell you a story or two that'll make you feel better when you sit in the middle of mud and misery and everything's gone south. You need somebody that's going to remind you, like, "Okay, you had a bad day today, but let's not forget the bigger vision." There's that old saying. Anybody ever heard the saying where they say scared money don't make money? All they're basically saying is nothing ventured, nothing gained. In financial theory, we refer to that as the risk reward trade-off. If you do not take a risk, you will typically not get the reward. Now, I'm not a billionaire yet. I don't know. I haven't done that yet. So if you want to know how to be a billionaire, I can't show you that. But I have made probably about $30 million in the course of my life. And it's not something that was typical in my family. And a lot of that came from the fact that I did a lot of things that were very different from what the people around me were doing. And I learned a long time ago, 30 years ago, I learned I got to stop listening to some of these people because I'm surrounded by some very scared people. And I get it. I understand. All the things that you're saying might be true. If you tell your loved one you want to go climb Mount Everest and nobody in your family has ever climbed a mountain, and then they start giving you all the statistics of all the people that have died of Mount Everest, all the people that froze to death, all the people that fell off the mountain, all the people that tried and failed, that data is all accurate. People have died climbing Mount Everest. People have failed. Probably more people failed than actually succeed. All that's true. But nobody needs that kind of advice and information when they're trying to make critical decisions. Please close the door. Please close the door. I need to. Thank you. Thank you. Close the door. So ultimately, what I'm saying to you guys is that when you're getting advice on how to be successful, you need to hear from people that are committed to the vision. You need to hear from people that are committed to the sacrifice. You need to hear from people that understand the sacrifice, because those are the ones that need to give you optimistic advice. The last thing you need to hear when you fail is, I told you so, because all that's going to do is it's going to deflate you and take away your confidence and keep you from going right back in the trenches and finishing the damn job. So I'm one. Let me be the first one to jump in here and say to you guys, I need you, when you go through your darkest moments, maybe pull up this video if that helps you, or whatever you got to do. But I need you to remember these words. Get your ass back in the trenches and finish the job. Get back and finish the job. The number one difference between successful people and people who are not as successful is one word. It is called persistence. The difference between successful people and people who didn't succeed is that the successful people did not give up. So ultimately, that's what I really want you to do. If you're committed to this game, give me a yes. If you're committed to being successful, give me a yes. If you're committed to being an entrepreneur, give me a yes. If you are trying to rise above the ashes, give me a yes. If you're trying to fly in your fly like an eagle, you're surrounded by chickens. If you're in that category, then you got to go find other eagles to kick it with. You got to go listen to other eagles. There are eagles on the internet. There are eagles that you can join groups and be around eagles. There are other people around you, or maybe somebody is just a chicken and they just love you enough to understand the importance of encouraging you and not discouraging you. And that is the thing that we have to address, because this is the part of financial psychology that is keeping so many of us back. This is what's keeping your greatest, best, and brightest from going on and shining, is because everybody's sitting back. Ain't nobody helping. Nobody's investing in them. Nobody's buying their products. Nobody's even sharing their posts on social media. Won't even hit the damn like button because you're so damn jealous. And then they're sitting there waiting for you to fail so they can say, I told you so. And that's because misery tends to like company. Mediocrity also loves company. Don't be mediocre. You're meant to be successful if that's what you want, but it's going to take a lot of sacrifice, and it's going to require you to have the courage to go against the grain and to do things that other people will not understand. Believe me, take it from me, because I've been living my whole life that way. I've been warned constantly, don't do this and don't do that. I don't give a damn. I went for it, and a lot of things worked out because of that, but I had a lot of failure along the way, a lot of pain along the way, a lot of misery along the way, a lot of sacrifices along the way. So if you're not ready to sacrifice, then just take your name out of the pot. Just take your name out of the pot. Because anything special you get in this life is going to require you to give. You must typically give something in order to receive it. And that's what investing is all about. So we talk about investing like stocks and bonds and real estate and all that. No, sometimes you got to invest your spirit. You got to invest your heart and soul. You got to invest your time. You invest in blood, sweat, and tears. You're investing things that are far more valuable than money. You have no idea how many regrets I have in my life for things I sacrificed to get the things that I wanted in life. And sometimes the sacrifice wasn't even worth it. Sometimes I sacrificed and said, man, I went a little bit too far. Do you think Michael Jordan, who won 6 NBA championships, you don't think he has regrets? That man has a ton of regrets, because the amount of sacrifice necessary for him to be the greatest basketball player in the history of this earth was tremendous. It was tremendous. So these are the conversations that I don't think anybody else has, but I thought I would share that with you in hopes that it helps some of you. And my family is gathering for the holidays, and so I got to run in and go and see what they're up to. But I hope that this helps you, and I hope that this encourages you. I want to see you win. I want to see you succeed, and I don't want you to give up. So if everybody could please do me this quick favor, do me a favor, hit the thumbs up button. Please hit that subscribe button if you haven't done it yet. Hit the notification bell so you'll be notified when we go live. If you feel that this helps you, then please do that. Also, if you're interested in learning about things like stock options, I have a whole stock options masterclass. The URL's on the screen. Feel free to go take a look at that. Stock options are a great way to generate income and make extra money. So feel free to go to stockoptionsmasterclass.com. And the book that I mentioned to you guys, where I talk about the culture of economic success, is the 10 Commandments of Black Economic Power. It's basically 10 simple rules that can be applied to any family that will keep your loved ones on code and allow you to be economically successful in a way that will last for the next 200 or 300 years. We're not playing. This can be done. You have it in you. I just need you to stop listening to the idiots and start listening to the smart people. And that's where your success is going to be. So happy holidays, everybody. God bless you. And I will see you all soon. So thank you for listening. Talk to you later. Peace.